There are too many of you. Hi, I just wanted to jump in at the start and just say thanks. I usually like to save the thank yous for the end of the video, but considering that in the past month, my subscribers have gone from 25 to almost 400 at the time of recording, and the views...
Who are you people?
I don't know where you guys came from, but, you know, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch my silly little videos about games I like. But with all that stuff out of the way, let's get into Bunker. Thank you. Really, thank you. I always liked World War I games, you know? The setting is really just interesting to me. World War I as a conflict didn't really have like a bad guy. Sure, maybe some sides were like crueler than others, but you know, could you blame them? What I mean is that there's no Nazi Germany, there's just Germany. There's no bad guys, just people being thrown into a meat grinder on a mass scale. It's honestly one of the most horrifying conflicts known to man. With all those descriptors, I'm surprised that there aren't more horror games made with World War I as a setting. Maybe my mind's just drawing a blank, but the only one I can think of is that small indie game where you have to run around a trench, trying to find a way out, all while a velociraptor is hunting you. Do you remember that one? All the funny YouTubers play it back in the day. Also, if you're wondering why this little handsome fella is in the corner jumping up and down, that's because it's from my Twitch. If you want to watch the VOD, too bad. My audio track, my microphone, didn't get recorded in the VOD. I'm new to this, okay? I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it just yet, but if you want to know more, I'll tell you my ideas at the end of the video, alright? So, you know, stick around for that. Amnesia Bunker is one of the scariest experiences I've played as of late. And I do mean that. Everything the game has just culminates into this awesome yet tense atmosphere. And this is, at least for me, the scariest Amnesia I've played so far. Not that The Dark Descent wasn't tense, but my problem with The Dark Descent is that I know it too well. And no matter how much time has passed, I know exactly when and where the monsters will be in The Dark Descent. Well, this game kept me on my toes. Even after my 4th playthrough, I was finding new stuff that I never experienced. But before we talk about the cool shit, let's get the other stuff out of the way first, alright? Issues. Okay, maybe this segment shouldn't really be issues. Maybe just technical aspects. Yeah. To start off with, the game runs well. I never went below 60 FPS. FOV slider is included, as it should be. Loading times are a bit of a mixed bag, however. They're kind of a little jarring when you see them for the first time, but they do get faster after you pass through the loading line once or twice, but each area has one of these. Maybe I just don't know what's going on under the hood of this game, but is it a little too much to ask for a smooth transition in between areas? Oh. Loading. Granted, it never got me killed, so I'll give it points for that. Also, the game probably runs as good as it does because of this. It probably just unloads the area behind me and loads the large area in front of me, you know? Probably does this so that the monster isn't at the far side of the bunker at all times, but that's just a guess. I didn't run into any bugs, unless you count some floating objects, but yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. So, also the only real, like, big bug that I fell into, like a game-breaking bug, would be when the monster hit me into the wall. But that was easily fixed by loading a save, which wasn't too far behind, so gets a pass on that, I guess. That and some of what I like to call Gmod jank. It's a term that I made up back in my Blade and Sorcery video that happens when an interactive environment just gets a little too interactive. Okay. This wasn't a problem for me, as it never really ruined the horror. If anything, there were just nice moments of levity before I had to go back for, you know, fearing for my life. Also, as a final note, this didn't happen too much to me, but sometimes the animations can be just a bit janky if you do something that they weren't expecting you to do. Just a bit of a warning. With that out of the way, let's get into the premise. Your name is Henri. Henri. I'm gonna butcher these French names. I just hope you know that. The game opens up with you storming a trench with your best buddy Lambert. It's a fun time. Afterwards, you find Lambert, who fell into a giant crater. Now, why'd you go and do that, man? Come on, at least try to be professional, okay? You give him some water and climb out of the trench with him on your back. Heading back to your home sweet bunker, you get shot at by Germans, they throw a grenade, it blows up, you black out, yada yada yada, with your beloved Lambert. Last night, I had a dream about you. You wake up at the medical ward with no memory of what's going on. You go to the pantry where you find your good buddy Jean. You know Jean, right? He was just talking to you last week about a fishing trip he had with his 2 sons. Anyway, he tells you about the current political climate in the bunker.
Down here. The rat fucking officers ran and blew the exit behind them. Here.
After which he tells you that he wants you to shoot him. He does look pretty beat up, so maybe putting him out of his misery is the best option here. He gives you his gun, you load it, and just before you do the monster beats you to it. Well, he's dead. For the rest of the video, we're going to be calling the monster Timmy. You make your way to the safe room and light the bonfire, so to speak, and the game begins. Visually speaking, it's technically a step up from Rebirth, and in my opinion, it looks pretty good. I understand that to most people it can look a little dated, you know, Frictional has never really been the best when it comes to graphics, but to quote myself in the last video, this is the best Amnesia has looked thus far. And in my opinion, while the game can look a bit dated, I think that kind of helps with this dirty, dark, and grimy environment that the game has. This is World War I. Things weren't exactly kept up to par in that area of the world at that time. Every room, every corridor, every place in this bunker just looks so decayed and rotten. There are holes in the walls, litter covering the ground, and a strange gunk has coated it too. It's dark. Very dark. And this is where I talk about the monster design, and, I mean Timmy's design. And, he's okay.
That's not fair.
I couldn't really get a good look of him at first, you know? And he kind of does have this intimidating presence that none of the other monsters really have. Perhaps that's just because of the way he acts in the game, but I'll get to that later. And he was pretty scary the first playthrough, but he sort of kind of, peters off into annoying territory on later playthroughs. I'll get to that in a bit, though. Also, on a much smaller note, there isn't sanity, as far as I can tell.
That's not fair.
There are some screen blur effects when you look at the monster, and if you have a problem with that, I believe you could turn them off. But that's about as far as it goes. To save myself some time, the visuals serve their purpose, and I actually kind of like them. Sound in Frictional games has always been good, and this one is no different. But this game is a bit different to the other titles, and you notice it immediately when you exit the safe room for the first time. Here, take a listen. Do you hear what I'm getting at? It's quiet. Very quiet. This quietness makes what little music and environmental sounds there are kind of just pop, which can kind of lead to this sort of feeling like you're being watched, you know? Is that open? God. You'll hear like rubble moving kind of behind you. You'll hear a distant shell casing fall over. It's pretty good. I like it a lot. But even with how quiet it can be, you never forget that Timmy's still around. He follows you to every location, never leaving you alone for too long. And sure, you might have a moment or two to yourself, but sooner or later, he'll be breathing down your neck, just waiting for you to fuck up. And trust me, you'll know when he decides to pay you a visit. Although that doesn't mean that he won't surprise you from time to time. Fuck. It's important to stay quiet, as noise might make Timmy a little curious, and that seems easy enough, right? Well, sometimes you have to make noise. Sometimes you need to make a lot of noise. And sometimes you accidentally make too much noise. These noises, such as grenades and gunshots, sound as you would expect. You're in a closed, confined corridors this time around, and the sound of a gunshot, rightfully so, is really loud. Voice acting this time around has taken a backseat. In this one, you know, it's good when it shows up, but it's used very sparingly. Only certain notes get the voiceover treatment, and there are no flashbacks to speak of. Barring the intro, like, tutorial, there's really not many characters that have a voiceover, unless you count Jean. But he's dead, so...
9th of July. I do not know the time, but dusk has fallen, and still, of course, no word. When I asked the sergeant, he shrugged, as if I was asking about when it might next rain. These fools around me, laughing and drinking.
Down on my knees. Singing and singing.
And to go back around to the flashbacks, I kind of like that they're not included anymore, you know? The flashbacks were, at best, just flashbanging you and slowing you down to a crawl, and at worst, they were just plain interrupting the game. So the removal of these flashbacks are, in my opinion, pretty nice. Which I think helps add to this lonely atmosphere the game has itself set in. All I can say is that, as usual, sound is top-notch. Okay. Now we're on the meat and potatoes. To start off with, the game has some randomized elements to it, so no playthrough will be exactly the same. This isn't to say that the bunker itself is like procedurally generated or anything like that, just the loot, you know? There are a couple constants, like a few tools, certain dog tags and codes, and even a couple of items that are just kind of have scripted places where they will spawn, but there aren't too many of those. There's also no real order to get things done in, but you can't really get anywhere without the tools, so you're generally going to go get those done first. You have objectives in your safe room, and it gives you some pointers on where to go, but the game doesn't hold your hand, and kind of leaves you to your own devices, for most of the game with notes telling you where to go. You're kind of expected to figure everything out for yourself, but let's take a step back and talk about the safe room. Yeah, so technically, this isn't the first time Amnesia has had a safe room, and if you want to get really, really technical about it, some of the hub areas in the Dark Descent, you know, if you could be described as safe hubs, I suppose. But this one is like an actual, like, Resident Evil style safe room, you know, complete with a typewriter, storage box, and some nice comforting music to accompany it. You save your game not by typing, but by lighting this candle in the room. This acts as your save button, and don't worry, you can just turn it off and save again if you need to. A unique addition to the safe room, however, is the generator. A very important addition, as the sign says right next to it. The fucker hates the light. And it's true. Timmy is, he's a real gamer, through and through. But just because the lights are on doesn't mean that Timmy won't pop out of his little gamer holes to get a snack from the fridge, so to speak. The generator is, while not essential, very useful, and it requires fuel. Fuel that, until you get some tools, is kind of a dwindling resource. Unless you're a real gamer. Like me. I am such a fucking hoarder. Okay. But fuel isn't only for the generator. You can use fuel for a variety of things. Okay, mostly to make things burn. But it does come in handy more often than not. But remember, resource management is key here, as fuel is scarce for the first half of the game. For example, rats. Oh, rats are a problem. They can block the way, they might be feasting on a dead body. That dead body might have a dog tag with a code on the back of it. And they are persistent. You might scare them off with gas, you might kill them one by one, or like with a grenade, but they'll come back. Fuck you, rats! These aren't regular rats either. I don't have a lot of experience with rats, but these ones will defend their food if they have to, and they hurt and slow you down to a crawl when you step near them, so you better grab the jerry can and start burning their food source, the body. Alright, you killed the rats, burned the body, problem solved, right? Oh, right. That fuel could have been used for the generator to keep the lights on. The lights that are currently off. Uh-oh. It's a whole different ball game when the lights turn off. Whereas before, you were somewhat in control of when Timmy appears. Now you're on his turf, and you'll need to play by his rules. When the monster goes on the hunt, there's this thick tension in the air. The sounds of his footsteps echoing through the hallway, the noises he makes while trying to find you. Oh. You can open doors. But this is where I have a problem with Timmy. You won't fucking go away! This kind of has to do with how he acts in the game, and in the beginning, sure, I was pretty scared of him. But eventually that turned into him being just a little bit annoying, just a teensy bit. Especially when the lights are off. Remember, the lights don't make him go away, they just make him stay in his cubby holes until you make a lot of noise. So when you're out and about and the generator's out of fuel, prepare to wait in a cupboard or a closet until he goes away. Go away. Go away. It takes a while for him to fuck off. There are a couple ways to ward him off, however. You can shoot him, gas him, Molotov him, grenade him, but he'll be back, and he'll be pissed. No, no, no! I can't run. I'm dead. But, all in all, I think he's still pretty scary. Like I said, he is still intimidating, and he does demand your respect when the game is afoot. god. Holy shit. Oh, and another thing. I'm giving the bunker a little golden star sticker because, at least to my knowledge, there were no jump scares. I only scared myself, or the tension was so great that it just resulted in a damn good payoff. Jesus, fuck. But let's take a step back and talk about the tools at your disposal, okay? All right, to start off with, you have your trusty flashlight. No oil, tinder boxes, lanterns, none of that old nonsense, all right? The flashlight needs to be charged by winding it up. 1, 2, 3 times to fully charge it. It doesn't last very long, but you don't need to refuel it like the other games, so no problem, right? Well, it's loud. Loud enough to get Timmy's attention. And like I said earlier, the game is dark. And while your eyes do kind of adjust to the darkness, you still can't see very far into it. So every once in a while to get around, you might need to crank that soldier boy just to get around. But be careful when you do, because Timmy will know. He always knows. You also have a variety of other tools at your disposal. You know, wrenches, bolt cutters, a gas mask. Okay, hopefully this thing isn't used up. And tools that you could craft, such as Molotovs or torches. But the real star of the show here is the pistol. The pistol isn't really a weapon in this game, it's more of a tool than anything. You can use it to ward off the monster, sure, but it can also be used to shoot locks, blow up barrels of the spicy and mustard variety. Fuck it. The guns in this game are clunky and slow.
For example, here's how to load your revolver. Step 1, hold R to open the cylinder. Step 2, keep holding down R for the entirety of this process. Step 3, empty the shells. If you shot a round, you need to empty that shell, boy. Step 4, click to load each individual round into a slot in the cylinder. Step 5, keep clicking to load all of the rounds at your disposal. Step 6, finally, stop holding R to close the chamber. Hold right click and fire. Hope you didn't need to do any of that in a pinch.
And everything in the game is like this to some extent, you know? Basically, there's no really quick way to get things done. There isn't no drag the key out of your inventory onto the door. It's take out the key, hold right click to ready the key, and then press left click to open the door with the key, you know? But to go back to the gunplay, it isn't exactly the best, you know? But I think this kind of adds to the horror, you know? Sure, you could say that doesn't make sense because you're a soldier in the French army, but that doesn't bother me too much. I would take this over French Doom any day of the week. Besides, he is an American, and as we all know, Americans get a natural plus 20 points to small arms, while the French only get a 30% damage increase to other French people. That was a joke about the French Revolution. Anyway, we haven't even gotten to the shotgun yet. Oh! My beloved. It's being kept safe for you by a wonderful man inside the ruins of a Roman death cult's home. Have fun getting it. It can be used like the pistol, of course, but this is a shotgun. You could solve even more problems with those. And, okay, this might be a little bit of a nitpick, but technically, this gun wouldn't be here. You see, this is the Winchester Model 1897 shotgun, also known as the trench gun, and while it was used during World War I, it wasn't used by French troops, and especially not during 1916, the date the game takes place. See, America joined the war during early April 1917, and this shotgun wasn't introduced by the Americans until 1918, while the pistol in the game is, I believe, modeled after the Model 1892 revolver, also known as the Labelle revolver. It fits just fine, but the shotgun just doesn't fit for the time period nor the faction that it's being presented in. You still with me? I'm gonna be honest with you though, I don't care. The fact that this game includes this shotgun specifically was a very nice surprise. So, you know, it gains points for it, in my opinion. Also, you know, Timmy exists, so realism's kind of being thrown out the door. All of these tools and the variety of things working in tandem with each other creates this kind of light immersive sim environment. What I'm trying to get at here is that the game is far more complex and far more in-depth than any of the other Amnesia titles by far. But the best part about this game, or at least in my opinion, is the loot is randomized. That includes the dog tags. You see, when you find a corpse, there's usually a dog tag on them, and some dog tags have codes on the back. These dog tags open up lockers, which have nice things inside them, and they're randomized. This opens up new strategies that you might not have thought of before, or might not have even been able to pull off without the right tools. Which is good, because one of Amnesia's biggest downsides, even the Dark Descent, is replayability. But to end off with a kind of a nitpick or, a gripe, the biggest problem I have is with the ending. So spoilers, but skip to here, but, it's not that much. Anyway, at the end, there's this sort of face-off you have with Timmy, right? And this is where the gunplay really shows how slow it is. You need to get these 2 boxes over to this wall so you can jump over it and escape. Well, but the issue is Timmy wants you dead here. He won't go away after a few shots this time around, and it's just kind of this awkward fight. A tumble is probably the best word I could use to describe it. You're trying to push this heavy-ass crate over here while Timmy's smacking you to the floor. You could shoot him here, sure, but he'll just reel for like 3 seconds and then get right back to slapping you. But the segment is so short, so you get a pass, I guess. Another problem that I noticed going through the footage is that it isn't exactly clear where you can throw things to get through a gap. On occasion, I threw like a Molotov and it would just hit something that I definitely think it shouldn't have. Sometimes I wanted to shoot stuff through the bars of a door and it just didn't work. All I'm going to say is that it just works. Most of the time. Oh god. This video is long enough, so, I need to wrap things up. Final thoughts. I like the bunker. It's worth your purchase. If not for the amount of replayability that the other games simply don't have, save for custom stories. But even then, the bunker has custom stories, including Steam Workshop, so... Checkmate, idiot! This is the most fun I've had with a game lately, I think that it might even be better, The Dark Descent, just a little bit, just a teeny little bit. But in any case, it's like 25 buckaroos, so go get it, have fun. Okay, I'm gonna talk about stream stuff really quick. So if you're here just for the review or the retrospective or whatever, I kind of don't like calling these reviews. I feel like that brings a level of professionalism that I don't think I have. Either way, if you don't want to hear about the stream stuff, don't stick around. The review's over. If you do, then stick around. So I did a stream last week on my Twitch, and it was scuffed, as I already told you. Don't worry, you didn't miss much. I just talked with a guy from Poland for like 2 hours. It was fun. And I would like to do more. Down below should be my Twitch. You can also probably find it on the main channel screen. I believe I have the issues that I had with the VOD fixed, so it should pick up my voice now. Also, I wanted to play the game that I take a look at on stream, but I'm not entirely sure when I should start streaming or when I should play it. You see, I work the night shifts on the weekends, so I kind of work opposite everyone else. So it would probably be like later on like weekdays. I'll keep you guys posted if I decide to do anything there. Don't be surprised if I just start streaming on YouTube instead of Twitch, because while I do like the features in the community that Twitch has, I might just switch over to YouTube streaming before I get too invested. What I want to do is I want to, stream after I have released the video. I usually try to release the video at like 12 o'clock on Wednesday. So I'll probably like stream sometime around like 5, maybe 3. It kind of depends. Either way, I'll probably have the streams like, somewhat ready. If I'm doing it on YouTube, I can just kind of schedule it. And if I'm doing it on Twitch, then I'll let you guys know again. But like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be doing it on Twitch. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it on YouTube. I might try out both. But, don't be surprised if I just quit Twitch or if I just stick with YouTube or whatever, Anyway, I'm done rambling. This video is long enough as it is. So, thank you for watching, as always, and I'll see you next time.
DJs that play that real live shit. You wanna bounce in your whip with that real live